Sean Diddy Combs is expected to return to court. The music mogul is facing federal charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. Combs has been in a New York City jail since last month when his request for bond was denied twice.
Many rappers have always respected Diddy's power, but some never let fear silence them. These fearless artists have come forward with proof that shines a light on Diddy's darker side. They've shared stories and evidence showing they aren't afraid to call him out even when he tried to keep things quiet. But could there be more hidden truths waiting to be uncovered? We will dive into the bold claims these rappers have made about Diddy that are shaking the whole music industry to its ground. Diddy's troubling past. When it comes to calling out Diddy, few have done it as consistently and loudly as 50 Cent. Curtis Jackson, known to the world as 50 Cent, isn't just a rapper, he's a cultural phenomenon. He's someone who's never been afraid to speak his mind regardless of who he's up against, and for years, Diddy has been one of his favorite targets. But it's not just about petty beef or trying to stir up drama, there's substance behind 50's words, a deeper disdain for the way Diddy has conducted business in the hip-hop industry. Before we dive deeper, it's clear that 50 Cent knows something far more shocking about Diddy than we ever imagined, and what he reveals next will leave you speechless. 50 Cent has always questioned Diddy's integrity, specifically pointing out how many artists signed to Bad Boy Records seemed to vanish into thin air or ended up with their careers in shambles. In interviews and on social media, 50 Cent has repeatedly brought up the fact that Diddy's roster of artists reads like a graveyard of broken dreams. Take Black Rob, Craig Mack, G-Dep, and others who were once at the top but eventually faded into obscurity with little to show for their contributions to Diddy's success. It's clear that 50 sees this as a sign of something deeper, an exploitative system that Diddy has perpetuated, one that chews up talent and spits it out once it's served its purpose. The most explosive claims from 50 Cent have to do with Diddy's alleged involvement in the East Coast-West Coast feud that ultimately led to the deaths of two of hip-hop's greatest icons, Tupac Shakur and the Notorious Big. Although 50 Cent hasn't directly accused Diddy of orchestrating Biggie's death, he's made it abundantly clear that he believes Diddy knows far more than he lets on. This theory isn't just idle speculation, it's grounded in the belief that Diddy, who was at the heart of the East Coast scene, couldn't possibly have been as ignorant of the events unfolding around him as he claims. The fact that 50 Cent continues to hammer this point home shows that he's not just interested in taking down Diddy for the sake of drama, he's genuinely interested in uncovering the truth about what happened to Biggie and why Diddy has remained so tight-lipped about the events surrounding his death. For 50, this isn't just about personal beef. It's about seeking justice for a fallen legend and exposing the hypocrisy that allows figures like Diddy to remain untouchable. Eminem, one of the greatest lyricists in the history of rap, isn't someone who often involves himself in the drama of the music industry. However, when he does speak, people listen and his words carry immense weight. Unlike 50 Cent, Eminem hasn't made a career out of taking shots at Diddy. In fact, their paths have rarely crossed publicly. But that all changed in 2018 when Eminem dropped the diss track Kill Shot, a response to Machine Gun Kelly's Rap Devil. In Kill Shot, Eminem delivered a line that stunned the hip-hop community. "The day you put out a hit's the day Diddy admits that he put the hit out that got Pac eliminated." It was a bold statement, and the fact that it came from someone as influential as Eminem meant that it couldn't be ignored. While Eminem later clarified that he was joking, the impact of that line was undeniable. It brought to the surface a topic that many had whispered about for years but were too afraid to confront directly. Eminem's decision to include that line was significant for several reasons. First, it demonstrated that even someone as successful and respected as Eminem was willing to question Diddy's involvement in one of the darkest moments in hip-hop history. It also suggested that Eminem, like many others, believes there's more to Diddy's story than what the public has been told. In an industry where powerful figures often go unchecked, Eminem's willingness to call out Diddy's alleged hypocrisy was a reminder that not everyone is willing to turn a blind eye. But as 50 Cent kept speaking out, someone else was about to draw even more attention to Diddy's past. Eminem's hidden clues about Diddy's past. Beyond the Tupac reference, Eminem has alluded to the predatory nature of the music business throughout his career, and Diddy's name often comes up as a prime example of that exploitation. While he doesn't engage in open warfare with Diddy, Eminem's subtle jabs and calculated lines serve as reminders that even the biggest names in the industry aren't exempt from scrutiny. Tupac Shakur's legacy is one of resilience, rebellion, and truth-telling. Before his death in 1996, Tupac was one of the most outspoken and fearless rappers in the game, and he wasn't afraid to challenge anyone, including Diddy. The tension between Tupac and Diddy, then known as Puff Daddy, was one of the central narratives in the East Coast versus West Coast feud that defined hip-hop in the mid-90s. It all began in 1994 when Tupac was shot multiple times in a recording studio lobby in New York. The incident left Tupac feeling betrayed and paranoid, and he publicly accused Diddy and his protege Biggie Smalls of knowing about the attack in advance. Although Diddy and Biggie denied any involvement, Tupac's accusation set the stage for one of the most infamous feuds in music history. Tupac's disdain for Diddy wasn't just about the shooting, though. He saw Diddy as a symbol of an industry that prioritized profit over people, and he believed that Diddy was exploiting the East Coast-West Coast rivalry for his own gain. This belief fueled one of the most notorious diss tracks of all time, Hit 'Em Up, where Tupac took aim at both Biggie and Diddy in a no-holds-barred verbal assault. He didn't just criticize their music, he questioned their loyalty, their authenticity, and their very place in the rap game. Tupac's willingness to confront Diddy directly, even at the height of Diddy's power, was a testament to his courage and his commitment to exposing the truth. He saw through the facade that Diddy presented to the world and wasn't afraid to call him out for what he believed was exploitation and manipulation. Even after Tupac's death, his words continued to echo, and many fans and artists alike began to question Diddy's role in the events that transpired during that tumultuous period. Drake's relationship with Diddy is a bit more complex and nuanced than some of the other confrontations. Drake has always walked the line between being a mainstream superstar and an artist who's deeply rooted in the rap culture. As such, he's had his own run-ins with Diddy, but instead of outright attacks, Drake's approach has been more about making subtle jabs and navigating the industry's power structures. The most notable incident between Drake and Diddy occurred in 2014 when reports surfaced that Diddy had physically confronted Drake outside a nightclub in Miami. According to eyewitnesses, Diddy slapped Drake over a dispute involving the beat for 0 to 100 The Catch-Up, a track that went on to become one of Drake's biggest hits. Diddy claimed that the beat was initially his and that Drake took it without giving proper credit. The incident quickly went viral, and for a moment, it seemed as though the tension might erupt into something more serious. However, what's fascinating about Drake's response is that he didn't back down. He didn't publicly apologize, and he didn't change his tune. Instead, he continued to climb the charts and cement his place as one of the most successful artists of all time. In many ways, this incident was emblematic of Drake's entire career. He's always been willing to challenge the status quo, even when it means going head-to-head with someone as powerful as Diddy. Over the years, Drake has made several lyrical references that hint at his disdain for the industry's gatekeepers, and there's little doubt that Diddy is one of the figures he's alluding to. Drake's path to the top has been largely self-made, and he's shown time and time again that he doesn't need the approval or backing of the old guard to succeed. By refusing to bow to Diddy's demands, Drake sent a clear message that he wouldn't be intimidated or controlled no matter how influential his adversaries might be. Eminem's bold line in Kill Shot wasn't the last big moment in this story. Someone who had a much closer history with Diddy was about to speak. Kanye's struggle against Diddy. Kanye West's relationship with Diddy is perhaps the most complicated of them all. It's a mix of admiration, rivalry, frustration, and defiance. Kanye has never been one to hold back his opinions, and when it comes to Diddy, he's offered both praise and pointed criticism over the years. This dynamic speaks to the fact that Kanye sees Diddy as both a peer and a symbol of an industry that he's trying to change. Kanye's criticism of Diddy often revolves around the idea of control and ownership. In one of his infamous rants, Kanye spoke about how Diddy and others like him represent the old guard of the music industry. Men who made their fortunes by exploiting artists and maintaining a stranglehold on the business. Kanye's fight for ownership of his masters and his desire to empower other artists are direct challenges to the very system that Diddy represents. There's a sense that Kanye feels betrayed by Diddy, someone he likely once looked up to as a trailblazer in the music industry. As Kanye has risen to power in his own right, he's seen firsthand how Diddy's empire was built, and he's not afraid to expose the cracks in its foundation. Kanye's criticisms are often wrapped in layers of metaphor and symbolism, but the message is clear. Diddy is part of a system that Kanye believes needs to be dismantled. This complex relationship between the two titans of hip-hop serves as a reminder that even those at the top are not immune to scrutiny. Kanye's willingness to confront Diddy, even indirectly, shows that he's not afraid to challenge the status quo, no matter how powerful his opponent might be. While the big names like 50 Cent, Eminem, Tupac, Drake, and Kanye often dominate the headlines, they aren't the only ones who have spoken out against Diddy. Several artists who were once signed to Bad Boy Records have come forward over the years to share their own stories of mistreatment and exploitation. These voices provide crucial context to the larger narrative of Diddy's controversial legacy. Mase, who once topped the charts as a Bad Boy Records artist, has been quite outspoken about his issues with Diddy. Despite his key role in the label's success during the late 90s, Mase has publicly shared his frustrations over being unable to buy back his publishing rights from Diddy. He once offered $2 million in cash to regain control of his music, but Diddy turned him down. This situation has sparked a lot of discussion about ownership and exploitation in the music industry, with Mase often cited as a clear example of an artist struggling to reclaim his work. The Lox, a rap group featuring Jadakiss, Styles P, and Sheek Louch, have also shared their challenges in breaking free from Diddy's control. Their fight to get out of their Bad Boy contract turned into a well-known battle, showcasing how Diddy reportedly used contracts to keep a hold on artists even after they wanted to leave. This public struggle illuminated the harsh realities of the music industry, where control over one's career can feel out of reach for artists. Freddie P, known from the reality TV show Making the Band, has added to the chorus of voices disappointed by their experiences with Bad Boy. He talked about feeling used and misled, brought in with big promises and then left out to dry when he was no longer seen as valuable. His story is yet another example of how fleeting fame can be under Diddy's management and how promises can turn into disappointments. Together, these accounts from Mase, The Lox, and Freddie P build a narrative that challenges the shiny image often associated with Diddy. They suggest that Diddy's success might have come at the expense of the very artists who helped build his empire. While Diddy is undoubtedly a significant figure in hip-hop, the stories from artists like Mase show a more complex and perhaps darker side to his legacy. These critiques are important because they highlight a broader issue in the music industry: the struggle for artists to maintain control over their creations. The tales of Mase and the Lox fighting for their rights and Freddie P feeling discarded resonate with many in the industry who have faced similar battles. They underscore the importance of fair practices in music business dealings and the need for artists to be vigilant about their contracts. Kanye West's back and forth with Diddy raised questions, but the real cracks in Diddy's empire began to show when more artists decided to speak out. When the Bad Boy dream turned sour. Moreover, the conversation around Diddy and Bad Boy Records serves as a cautionary tale for upcoming artists. It emphasizes the importance of understanding the music business and being aware of how deals and contracts can impact their careers long term. For every artist that makes it big, there are countless others who may end up feeling exploited or overlooked. The willingness of so many artists to speak out against Diddy represents a larger shift in the music industry. For years, Diddy's power and influence made him seemingly untouchable, but the rise of independent artists and the increasing emphasis on ownership have changed the game. The rappers who have exposed Diddy aren't just airing grievances, they're challenging a system that has allowed figures like him to exploit talent without consequence. These artists are tired of the exploitation, the manipulative contracts, and the endless cycle of broken promises. They want to take back control of their narratives, their art, and their financial futures, and by exposing Diddy, they're sending a message to the entire industry. The days of unchecked power are coming to an end. The conversation about Diddy is taking a turn. More and more, as artists step forward to share their experiences, the story shifts from celebrating his rise to fame to focusing on those he might have pushed aside. This isn't just a simple disagreement with one person, it's a major challenge for the heart and soul of hip-hop. Those speaking up are driven not just by personal grievances, but by a commitment to change the industry itself. Diddy has long been a towering figure in the world of hip-hop, wielding enormous influence. However, the increasing chorus of voices challenging him shows that sheer power can't completely protect anyone from scrutiny. From 50 Cent's relentless jabs to Tupac's bold confrontations, from Eminem's sharp criticisms to Kanye West's nuanced disputes, these artists are pulling the veil off the Diddy empire. They're revealing a less flattering side of his legacy, where the shadows of his actions linger over the industry. This movement isn't about simply bringing down a powerful mogul, it's about sparking a larger conversation on accountability within the music industry. It aims to prevent future artists from falling into the same pitfalls that have hindered many of Diddy's past collaborators. As the tales of his questionable practices become more widely known, the story of Diddy is evolving, marked by a growing demand for transparency and fairness in how artists are treated. Moreover, the rappers who have dared to stand up to Diddy aren't just calling him out, they're striving to reshape what hip-hop stands for. They argue that even the most influential figures should answer for their actions and that the struggle for ownership, authenticity, and empowerment in music is crucial. Their persistence in speaking out is not just about personal vendettas, but about fostering a culture in hip-hop that values fairness and artist welfare. As these artists continue to voice their truths, their impact is beginning to resonate more broadly. The world is paying attention, tuning in not just to the hits and awards, but to the stories of those who made sacrifices along the way. The narrative is becoming one of awakening, where the glitz of fame begins to fade, revealing the real costs of success in an unforgiving industry. This broader awareness signals a significant shift in how we perceive icons like Diddy and the environments they create. It encourages a deeper look into the complexities of hip-hop, a genre built on stories of struggle and resistance. By challenging the status quo, these outspoken artists are nurturing a hip-hop culture that prioritizes integrity and respect over fame and profit. In this evolving landscape, the message is clear: no one is above accountability, and the music industry must reform to safeguard the interests and careers of its artists. The battle lines are drawn not just in studios and on social media, but in the very fabric of the music community. As more voices join the chorus demanding change, the narrative will continue to shift, hopefully steering hip-hop towards a more equitable and sustainable future. Could Diddy be hiding even bigger things, or are these rappers just scratching the surface of the truth? Share your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.